On the metaverse, so I've been interested in this topic for a long time, as many of you have. And I pinpoint 5 different things that I really like about the metaverse is, of course, the 3D immersive real-time context, right? And that is going to be mind-boggling. In fact, I think it's going to be so good, it'll be hard to want to live without it, which is one of the issues I talk about later. The other thing I really like is the spatial audio, right? And this, I really miss that when I talk to people on virtual environments. You don't hear them from the right direction. You hear them from the wrong direction. And this is going to be very powerful stuff. And of course, this idea of creating a new creator economy, yeah, I think it's admirable, Web3 kind of concept, but probably a pipe dream. Because, we talked about this for 20 years with the internet, the empowerment of the creator and all these things, right? So a different debate we can have there later. But right now, it's the buzz is everywhere, right? Here's a little gallery. If you just kind of take a look at, there's thousands of clippings, right? From Facebook, of course, all the way to what brands are doing, like Victoria's Secret and Fashion Week and Gucci and all that stuff, right? Time does not suffice to look at all these details. But the real thing I really liked the other day, I came across this wedding that was held in the metaverse in India. Of course, probably an arranged wedding on the metaverse. No judgment there, just indicating it's a really interesting scenario. The other one I really like is the Metaverse Meditation Mondays. So meditation is an obvious application for Metaverse, deep diving into something else to be part of something else. I really love this one from The Onion, where it's like a gallery of fake quotes from technology greatest. And they say from Jeff Bezos, soon it'll be indistinguishable from the actual world, and that I'll also own most of it. Which I thought was an interesting comment on the metaverse and where things will be going. And of course, Wall Street think it's going to be worth trillions. And so I'm a little bit concerned about this because I think it's quite clear to me that it can be a boon for technology, it can be a boon for business and for commerce and of course for the military, right? All of that is true, but is it going to be good for us, for humans, for us as people? And is it actually a concern? Or are we just thinking, yeah, maybe that is interesting, but only for the elite, like, the ethicist, right? Those people in the company that deal with ephemeral things. Let me bring in a short quote here from Mark himself, okay, just to kind of give a background.
We believe the metaverse will be the successor to the mobile internet. We'll be able to feel present, like we're right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for your comment. Right there with people, no matter how far apart we actually are. Well, that is interesting. Hasn't that been the illusion of the internet for a long time? Right? We can be right there where everybody is. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't even need a body. We can just, be there virtually. I think that's an interesting concept, but is it actually going to be beneficial for humans? And is there something that is going to set us apart from this kind of what I call the Truman Show effect, right? Which essentially is the same story, right? We're living in a virtual environment. Yeah, it's very interesting, but it isn't real, right? And what is real and what is not real, of course, subject to debate as to how that is being defined. Great number was mentioned earlier from Gardner. Of course, Gardner is not just showing the hype cycle, Gardner is the hype cycle. 25% of people saying they're going to be, yeah, great idea. Yeah, we're all going to be in the metaverse, but of course, here's the tiny problem there. We don't have the juice, right? We don't. And are we going to get the juice? Yes. This is like saying we're going to have nuclear fusion so that our energy is abundant. Good point. We will have that, right? But this is the issue, right? Raja Kachuri from Intel says power in the metaverse requires 1,000-fold improvement. I don't know how we're going to solve that, but it's quite clear that we can solve it, and it's also quite clear that you have to be very well off to participate in the metaverse. Not having a T1 internet line and a headset and all fancy computers like we do, the top 10%. Great idea, but how real is it and what exactly is it going to do? I feel like we're being sucked into another vortex. And that vortex is here everywhere now, and of course people are saying, well, the metaverse is the future of mobile, right? It is the future of social media, it's the future of the internet, and period, it's the future of life, right? It's the future of everything. And then I wonder, well, if it's the future of social media, are we going to get more of the same, right? Uncontrolled monetization, feudalism, fake everything, dehumanization, manipulation, disembodiment, surveillance, dependency, inequality, the list goes on. And that is not the fault of the internet. It is not the fault of social media. Right? It is just what technology does. It's morally neutral until we use it. And that is important to remember. This is not the fault of technology and will not be the fault of Metaverse or Facebook or any leading Metaverse provider if that goes wrong. It is just built into the system. Right? And now we have a world where girls that watch things on Instagram feel like they're bad about themselves and kill themselves on a regular basis. Is that Facebook's responsibility? Well, that is a big debate we're going to have later. But clearly, this is a big question I have about that future. Is it going to be mostly about data mining? Is that the reason why we're going to go into the Metaverse? Right? So we can more perfectly track people and sell them stuff. I mean, is everything about selling? Right? Everything about profit and growth? I mean, Facebook makes $360 million per day in revenues, if I'm correct, and about 130 million of that is profit. That is actually not a bad thing. I'm not envious of that, but there comes responsibility with that discussion. And so I wonder if the effects of social media, which are addiction, loneliness, virtual reality contortion, what's called now the nature deficit disorder, which means that you never go out again because you're always somewhere else, right? Is that going to be our future, along with this paradigm of what we've had so far, profit and growth? And again, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with profit and growth. We're not going to go to a degrowth world, right? But it isn't the only thing that matters. Now you see all around us, you see this discussion of the stakeholder economy. Right? People, planet, purpose, prosperity, as I call it. You see that with climate change. And these are very, very big discussions that are happening everywhere. And let's not forget for a minute, the primary force behind the Metaverse right now is a company that is rapidly losing trust. And that is a fact. Right? I mean, not just the stock market is declining on Facebook for obvious, and not for that reason, but for other reasons. Right? Who are you going to trust there? Is it Microsoft? Will you trust Microsoft more than Facebook? Well, will I trust Apple? I mean, I trust Apple to some degree, probably more than others. But, I'm an Apple user. What can you say? I'm an Apple fanboy. But would I trust them with all that? I'm not so sure, I mean, Facebook is essentially the biggest autocracy in the world, as the Atlantic magazine said just 2 weeks ago.